Hello y'all, we're back with another pottery video here, and we're just gonna get right into it. I've been kind of working on getting back into the loop of the controlled collapse, and so in this pot today that you guys can sort of get to see some of that. And then I think the reason I got into it is the pot yesterday. I did a I don't even know what you call them, 4 drastic pulls and to create a pattern, and then it fell down. I was like, dang, like the 4 seems like it's a good one. 5 seems like sometimes it's pretty sturdy, and so it's not gonna fall. But the 4 seemed like it's gives enough time, or maybe enough space in between each of them to sort of guide the pot to a controlled collapse. And so today I'm gonna do some of that for you guys. And today I actually didn't really do as many cuts. I'm trying to maybe reduce the amount of like cuts in between like the middle moments. And so I realized by being quiet, my videos are getting shorter and they're more like concise. And so I'm not too worried about it cutting the videos as much, which could probably eventually lead to maybe doing like 2 videos a day. But for now, we'll just keep it at 1 and try to improve on my talking with you guys and everything. But we did some wedging just there, and we're getting started on some throwing here. This is a different type of clay than we used yesterday. This is called wheatstone, and I don't think that really matters, but you can see some of the clay from yesterday get on this clay because it's a little bit darker and more red, and so you'll be able to see that. Maybe that will do something on the surface later on, but it's not really my intention. I'm just making, just collaring it up. Today I did a sort of a tall collar. I don't know. I shouldn't do that. It just, the clay was just moving like really easily today, so just went with it. Went right into centering. You can see I only coned it up once and down, and then I was ready to go, right? You have those days when stuff just like works out well for you and you don't really have to worry about it, but then you'll have the days where it kind of is a little bit more brutal getting through things. But today this clay just really was gliding, and so I went right into all the processes with no hesitation. And I think once you feel and get in sort of that flow state, it really starts making your life a lot easier when working with the clay. I'm just compressing the bottom. I think there when I first cut into the clay, I left a little bit too much, and so I was trying to peel it back. When I'm peeling it back, sometimes you can create a little ledge of clay, and if there's a lot of water in the inside, you can trap that water. And I've never really had too many problems with it, but I have a sneaking suspicion that it can make the bottom of your wall or your pot kind of weak right at that where the corner meets the wall. The bottom of the pot meets the wall. Getting into our first pole. This one was a little bit taller than some of the other ones that I've done. For the first pole, getting all the clay up. So as soon as I had this first pole, I was like, okay, I'm cooking today. You can see some of that clay, different type of clay on the surface right there. Just establishing that bottom, always making sure that I don't feel any undulations on the bottom before I start a pull. If you feel those undulations, just stop for a second, hold it there, just hold your fingers there, literally just hold them there. And eventually you'll stop feeling that undulation in your fingers, and then you just start your pull. Collaring that top up, it got a little bit away from me, but not too bad. This clay, I had a little bit on the top, and so you can see I'm going to be working this top a little bit more, just because I had a little bit more clay up there. And you can really start to see some of that clay, that different colored clay drip down. It smells like the pot is bleeding. It's kind of interesting. Some people do some weird stuff, using like different colored slips. Some people put like little iron spangles, I don't even know what you call them, into the clay, just to get it different textures, different surfaces, all sorts of different things they do. I think there's something called Cajonde slip that I heard about one time, but I'm not too well versed in that stuff. I'm just doing the throwing right now. And you can see when you get to the top, it really starts to want to tilt back and forth. And so what I'm doing is I'm actually just letting that thing flare out so I can pull that clay so I'm not disturbing the body of the pot. You can see the body of the pot is a little bit, has some undulations to it. And so we're going to be doing a pull. It's like a correction pull. And so I'll show you guys how to do that here in a second. Just establishing the top like we always do, getting ready for a nice collar in. And so once we flare that out, we thinned it out, we're going to collar, and it's actually kind of compressing that clay on the top so it gets a little bit thicker again. And then you just do a small little pull and pull it out, and then usually you thin out the top while also gaining maybe like less than an inch, maybe an inch of height, maybe even more. I don't know. I was really focused on that just now, but doing a compression pull here. I noticed that in the belly of the pot it was a little bit thin, and I had a lot of ridges. Sometimes if you do too quick of a pull, you can create these ridges that your fingers naturally just sit in as you do a pull, and sometimes that can prevent you from getting a nice compression on some spots. And so you can see there's like little ravines on the side of the pot there. Doing another collaring to get that center get some of that height, and also start establishing the neck of the pot. You can kind of see it start taking shape. Like right now, you can already tell where the belly's gonna go, where the neck is of the pot, and so it's kind of nice to get those established. And eventually, you'll get a feel for whatever feels most natural for your making. Maybe you do really wide bottoms. I don't know, right? But it's all about sort of falling into these habits while also like breaking the habits. And sometimes if you really focus on these habits, they reveal things to you, And so this is that correction pull, right? And so this is like really important because what I'm doing is I'm actually pulling downwards. I'm doing like a reverse pull. And what I'm doing is you can see the whole pot started tilting back and forth, right? And what that is doing is it's just aligning the top to the off center, and I'm pulling it all the way down because when you're pulling something off centered up, you pull the off centeredness through the pot. But if you can align the clay, even if it's tilting, if you go all the way down to the bottom and you pull it all the way up, it can reduce and get rid of all of the uncentered clay and make it right on center. And so that's what you see right here. It's really just doing a reverse pull down all the way to the base, and that's just setting, and that's aligning the clay. Even if it looks off-centered, it's not necessarily off-centered. And then you pull it all the way up, and then it's back on center, and then you're cooking, It was a little bit thin, and right now I'm establishing that bottom little lip. Getting ready. I'll be doing a little flange on the bottom, the skirt, like I normally do. And sometimes, as soon as I'm a big water user, and so whenever I feel it start sticking a little bit on that finger right there, I don't want to throw off the base too much, and so I'll just add a little bead of water, and then it usually this makes it slick enough where it just slides. Collaring that neck in. Getting going a little bit fast, but that's okay, Like I said, I really felt the clay today. It was moving well for me, and so I think sometimes with that I speed up. Things are working out. Establishing that belly and that neck. Get some of that height out of that top there. Nice. This was a really good pot today. Like I always say, some people, they just want to make the vases. That's fine, but that's not what I'm here to do. So that's what this essentially is. You could just smooth out the edges a little bit, take like a metal rib, curve it, make sure everything's all nice and crisp. maybe wait for it to dry a little bit too, so it gets keep it on the wheel, let it dry a little bit, and then you'd be able to sort of cut in and shape the clay a little bit easier without it collapsing or falling apart. Getting ready to make these big drastic poles here. I think that's what I'll just call them, the drastic pole. Boom. And you can see I was waiting for the moment when speed and intent match up. All of a sudden it just clicks for you, and that's when you go. You know, you can't be hesitating halfway through the pole. As soon as you make that first one, just go for it, you know. And so sometimes it takes a little bit of practice. I still don't get them right all the time, but it really helps out. And you can see as I'm emphasizing the drastic poles here, it's tilting to the side. It's getting ready to collapse. And so I'm just making sure that I am holding that top rim so I can control how it's going to collapse. And I'm just going to set it right down. Right, sits right down, and look at that. Every single one of those things is pretty much even, and it looks extremely intentional when you can get those working for you. And right now I'm going to start making my twist up, my twist pole. And this twist pole wasn't really that great today. I think I was a little bit too, pulled my hands up too fast while the wheel was going a little bit too slow. I think I could have made it drastic, so I went back and I tried to fix it, but I think that it didn't really turn out the way that I wanted in this pot. I also think that I probably should have maybe shrank the collared that rim in just a little bit, and maybe that could have helped out with the way that the blossom turned out. Yesterday's blossom was just absolutely crazy, and so here we're gonna flap over the rim here. And you can see it's just not tight, it's not pulling it, it's okay, you know. And so I thought, okay, it looks more like the tongue, let's try to get it into that point. I take those edges. I did get a little bit of my fingerprint on there, and I was kind of not really feeling it, but it's okay, you know. I'm going to lift that up and curl it again. There we go, we got sort of that point that we want. And you know, hopefully that this, and here you can see I'm trying to fix that, but hopefully that this, that little lift can maybe give a little bit more a little bit more interesting moments on the pot. Maybe a little glaze drip can drop off there. I wanted to have a little bit of perkiness to it, just because that collapse really like weighs it down, right? And so having anything that kind of lifts the pot up, like that little edge there, kind of lifts the pot up. And so that's what we like to see in some of these controlled collapse pots. And we're going to get ready to carve up that bottom edge, and then we're going to be making our skirt. I think we're kind of getting in a good flow with some of these new pots. I mean, this is sort of a new form of vase for me to sort of explore. And so I'm going to be making a lot of these, I think, in the next coming days. And hopefully we can get some cool variations. Maybe some little God sprinkles can happen, and we can see something really interesting here. Here I'm trying to lift that up, but sometimes when you try to lift it up, you can't really get your finger underneath there, and so you end up sort of compressing that clay down. So here I'm going back in with my, I don't even know what you call that tool. My knife, my wooden knife, there you go. And I'm trying to lift that up even more so I can get my fingers up underneath there. And just sort of getting that ready for the skirt that I'm about to put on it. I got some like a spot of clay on my leg there. That's kind of fun. And then here we go. Boom, 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 boom. Just getting those in, right? That's what you're thinking in your mind. You're getting that rhythm, matching it with your foot. It's not going to work out the first time you try to do something like that. But if you just keep doing it over and over and over and over again, like everything, you'll get better at it, and eventually you'll put your own spin on it, which would be even cooler, you know. And there we go. Peace out. All the best and strong mentality. Here's the pot. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.